Right, so we're coming up on the final points we would like to talk about. So the pandemic, it was horrible. I think I live in near Milan, so I lived it in full, I can say. It must have been I imagine it must have been a period of um, trying to organize things differently in a very rapid way for you at Niantic. Please confirm or tell me otherwise if I'm wrong. Uh, and we are seeing that this is calming down a bit somewhere in the world, uh, and some agents are wondering what will come after the pandemic ends and things get back to normal in terms of events, anomalies, and possibly even global events. Since agents in our chat have shown to really like those kind of events.
Yeah, so the pandemic, um, it I did not expect it to um, one, um, I guess, be as dangerous or as deadly as it was and last as long as it was. So when I first
Mhm.
saw the reports coming out, this would have been like, I guess, closer to like Christmas time. Um, you know, I'm struggling to figure out the right way to say it, but like my hope, I guess, back then was that, you know, we had seen some of those kinds of things like MERS or SARS where, um, we were able to solve those things. And this is very different. I certainly have never seen anything like this in my lifetime. Um, we are trying to take things really in a way day by day because things keep changing. The pandemic is not over. There are places where they got affected or hit harder than others. Um, it's also kind of interesting to see, I guess, um, different countries or governments' response to the pandemic. I think for us on the Ingress side, it's really been um, trying to find that right balance of making sure that we're doing what needs to be done from a player safety perspective, but then also recognizing that we are a real world game and there are a lot of benefits to um, you know be safe, but there are benefits to when you are able to play outside safely or to go for walks. It doesn't mean to be reckless or meet up with other people in large groups, but being able to go outside for me has probably been the thing that's kind of kept me even keeled, is that I'm able to go out and go to portals and play the game and get some fresh air, get some sun. And not everyone is fortunate to be able to do that. So again, kind of going back to that I think original question, the one difficulty on the Ingress side is that our changes are typically global sweeping changes. We don't have that granularity to say, um, in every place that we can do, it's these sets of settings or these sets of knobs. It's really when we make the change, it's every player everywhere in the world experiences the same thing.
Mhm.
So that's been tricky to navigate. But I do firmly believe that um, I think being able to go outside and play safely, being able to spend time outdoors and just clear my head, um, it feels better, especially because I'm working from home, working basically from what's effectively a closet. It's nice to be able to go outside, and that's one of the things that if we can be that nudge to invite people to come back outside, go to portals, again, play safely, wear a mask, keep your physical distance, but that doesn't mean, you know, kind of shutter yourself away from other people. This is just my personal feeling, but like, I really dislike the term social distancing because it feels like now more than ever, like it's important, like this Zoom call, to actually have social connections and check in with each other, check in with your friends, check in with your family, but keep physical distance. And I think that's the kind of approach that we've been trying to take is, absolutely maintain your physical difference, but physical distance, but when you can check in with one another, we still want to have virtual first Saturdays where you can meet, either over Telegram or Zoom or other apps, but you are still socially connected to the community and to your friends. So yeah, that's that piece about it. Looking forward though, I think there are a couple parts to it where I do think it's going to take a long time for things to kind of go back to the way they were, prior to March, when things locked down in LA or prior to COVID. And I don't know that they're going to go necessarily back exactly to the way they used to be. I can certainly imagine, for example, in an anomaly scenario, the idea of having hundreds of people converge on a small place, maybe that needs to be spread out a bit more, or maybe the game design needs to be changed. But I do know that agents really love the live events. They want them to come back. They don't necessarily want them to come back this moment, but they do want them to come back when it's safe to be able to do so. And so we're making plans to figure out how do we do that. I think there are some of the things that we've done that are kind of baby steps in that direction, even prior to COVID. So things like the team had made changes to mission days, so that with the last mission day that I went to, it was San Antonio, which that was like just before the lockdown happened, at least here in California. But it was basically at midnight, the missions went live. I didn't have to check in with another person. It didn't mean that like there weren't meetups happening or breakfasts happening. There were still social things happening. It just didn't mean that an admin or a host had to do the kind of manual part of the check-in and check-out process. There's more of, you can enjoy the more fun parts of connecting with other people and actually going out and enjoying the mission day. And the more that we could try to offload or scale those kinds of parts where they're kind of like the grungy work, I feel like, of hosting a first Saturday or hosting a mission day. And then the more we can do to sort of automate the bottlenecks that are kind of preventing more player organized events from happening, I think that's one thing that we can start doing right now, so that we are ready when we're able to return to live in-person physical events. The other kind of comment or question that I've also been seeing is we had plans, for example, of trying to do kind of those like Nemesis style live ops, or there were challenges of like the global challenges of there was like a mission one that was going to happen, and then the lockdown happened, and that kind of just got punted or postponed. But as we're kind of reevaluating things, there certainly feels like there are ways to bring those back, and so that's what we're working on right now, is trying to figure out what is the right way to bring those kinds of global challenges back to the game, and then can we do it in a way that still feels like basically authentic to Ingress, and it's something that brings people socially together, if not physically together. So that's what we're working on right now. So I would say in the near term, stay tuned. We are actively trying to figure out the right game plan for how do we do that style of event. Longer term, we absolutely want to return to doing anomaly events or like larger scale player events. There kind of was a period where I think the team was kind of experimenting with more cross-faction kind of things, of like cross-faction shards or hexathlons that were kind of like a first Saturday plus. And I think those were really important experiments to try. I'm always in favor of let's see what happens. But as long as we're taking lessons learned from that and then figuring out how are we going to do better next time. So I think we've been able to do that on the team and figure out these are the things that that do work, that players enjoy, that players like and want to see more of. These are the things where, okay, we tried it, we can either discontinue or scale it back, or just find the right way to do those things. So we want to go back to doing live events, just trying to figure out kind of what's the first baby step to do that in the short term, and then longer term, how do we prep for what I guess like the new normal might look like.
Yeah, I know that that's been a big question when we've been in IFS Zooms on when are we going back into in person, and the conversation has been very much, well, if we try to go back in person, it has to be safe and it has to be it because this is a global game, it has to be something that everyone's going to be able to eventually go into. And right now, the world's just so different, and some people are doing well and other people aren't. And we don't personally, on the Fevs game side, have a way to be able to track. And I doubt that you guys have a way to be able to track which areas are open and which areas aren't.
Yeah, the hard part too is that it's not just the specific challenge or the specific games. So for like one example would be like a mission day. So the act of doing a mission,
Yeah.
I think that can be done, even in the pandemic in
Mm-hmm.
most places. So I could do a mission by myself, and then, or at least like physically distance from other people, and do that mission. But then the complicating thing is if we were doing a mission day, well, then you might encourage people to travel, which we wouldn't want to do that. And then the other piece is that if you did have that kind of an event, then there's typically other things that are happening outside of just doing the mission of like, I
Mm-hmm.
want to go grab a beer with someone, or I want to give someone a high five or a hug or something. You just have other players that you haven't seen in a long time, or that maybe you know, they're not local or whatever. And those are the external factors or the outside the game factors that we're also considering of these are all the things that we have to keep in mind when we talk about like what is a live event in Ingress.
Yeah.
And it's not just the fact that there's a mission there and there's a nice medal that you can get for it. There's all those other things that we also take into consideration. And that's why I don't believe I've gotten that balance right, and it's something that yeah, it is something I'm kind of reevaluating, trying to figure out how do we come back to some form of global challenge or something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, we will get it right, and we are working on it.
That's good to hear because I know a lot of people are wanting to see that happen, and some sooner than others, of course.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Brian. We are finished basically. But I do have one more question to basically round up everything. You did quickly talk about it, but I do want to ask, what's next? Basically, there are a few things rumored, like subscription. So, what's next?
So in the short term, really like one of the things that I've been trying to take a deep dive on personally was just looking at cataloging all of the feedback that we've been getting from the forum, from the Play Store and App Store reviews. So basically trying to get an assessment of here's kind of the state of the union, here's the state of where the community's at and where the game is at, so that when I'm building out that backlog or that kind of to-do list of here's what we need to do based on the volume of feedback that we're seeing, and the number of players that might be affected, how do we know quantitatively that this is the right set of things that we should work on and in the right order? So that's kind of where I've been spending a lot of my time recently, is just, okay, here's based on what I'm hearing or what the team is hearing, here are things that I think we need to fix. We kind of did something like that before retiring Redacted, where when I joined the team, there was kind of like a top 10 list of like, I was still using Redacted when I first came back to Niantic, and for me to move over to Prime, I felt like we need to do XYZ things. And I feel like right now, we've been trying to ship new things in the game over the last year. We've been trying to work kind of behind the scenes on basically making the game and making the team a bit more sustainable. And what that's meant is that there are kind of quality of life or just issues that have kind of crept in over time. Calm, again, being like one of the most glaring ones. And so trying to like rebalance to figure out how do we make sure that we're fixing issues and not basically taking one step forward and two steps back. So that's in the short term the thing that I would like to see. In the longer term, I do think Ingress has so much potential just because it's a different kind of real world game, where, you know, assuming the pandemic is over, assuming like, you know, vaccines are out and people are actually taking the vaccines, then kind of imagining the future version of players being able to coordinate across country borders and language borders to create these large fields and have those fields matter, have them be part of some meaningful part of either an anomaly or some kind of live event, having the idea of, you know, we used to do, for example, these like, I would call them seasons in the game. So every 3 months there would be like a Helios or 13 Magnus or Recursion. That kind of seasonality to Ingress is something that I like to see as well. Obviously, like trying to get more players back into the game. I think one, if we improve the way the game works, improve the way, you know, it looks and feels, but then also just address some of those top player reported issues, we may be able to win some of those players that left and win them back. But I also think there's so many people that haven't played Ingress yet that we could also sort of bring into the fold. So yeah, there are players that, for example, in the LA area that I've seen come over from Pokemon Go, that they were level 40 players, and then, you know, maybe they felt like, got to catch them all, and I caught them all, and so now I'm looking for what's next. And if there are certain high-level Pokemon Go players that also would want to come into Ingress, really, I just want more people playing the game. And I know there's a kind of a stigma, or like trainers aren't agents. And I do understand kind of at a high level, like what's meant by that. But really, like, I want the game to be welcoming and approachable to everyone. That doesn't mean watering down Ingress or turning it into a Pokemon Go. They're doing well enough on their own. I really do want to plant a flag in the ground and say what Ingress is a competitive faction versus faction game. It's cross-border, cross-language. This really, like, in a way, like this international version of Capture the Flag on steroids. And really, like, the main draw for the game for me is the player community. And if there are tools that we can provide or games that we can provide to make building that community and strengthening that community more fun, that's the direction that we want to head. So yeah, the whole reason I came back was I'm in love with Ingress. I think it can be so much bigger and grander than it is today. We are actively working to try to make that happen. There were a lot of things that we had to kind of do, at least in my first year back, just to kind of get things set up so that we can do those kinds of things. So really looking forward to, 2021 and onward so that we can continue to grow the game.
Yeah, I've seen the stigma against Pokemon Go players. We see it in our chat pretty often, but we also have players in our chat that they came from Pokemon Go, and we actively try to go, okay, look, not everyone, it fits what you're thinking, and we need to be welcoming to anyone that comes to the game that actually wants to play legitimately. Not just get an account so that they can look at the Intel map, but legitimately want to play and be involved in the community, and we shouldn't be discouraging them at all. So, anyways, sorry.
I mean, for me, it's really the more people playing the game, the better. And wherever I can
need
get those
more
people
enlightened. Bring more enlightened to Northern Cali. Come on.
And so, yeah, the ways that we want to try to approach that is also there's, I think, again, going back to COM, there's a lot of things there where it's really hard to find those new recruits or those new players. And it used to be, I think, a little bit easier for people who did want to be those mentors or want to help those new players kind of level up and take them under their wing. was easier to find them in the old version of the game. So all of those kinds of things they're all on the to-do list. They're all on the backlog. We just have to get the order right so that we're doing them in the right sequence, or the right order of operations. But yeah, I think, with players' help, trying to give their feedback and their guidance of here's what's most important to us. If we can do that, either through me building out this ridiculous Google sheet, or if it's that known issues board that something like Catan has, and we're kind of using multiple data points. That's, again, like I do try to look at it from kind of this, I don't know, engineering approach, or like more technical approach, because that's just, for me, I think, how I've been trying to address the different challenges that I see is, we got to just take them one at a time, and then let's do them in this order. So really looking forward to working with the player community. I want to do more chats like these. I'll also, after this call, type it up in a, again, more cohesive, succinct way, and then add that to the Ingress forum.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for your time, and thanks for all your really thoughtful questions. Whatever way that I can be helpful, please just let me know.
Can I have more glyphs? And can you give me a sequence that you have hacked so I can add it to my glyph journal? That would be extremely helpful to me.
The database or the list of glyphs that we do have, I know there's some that are in there that maybe they were temporary because of April Fools or from different events.
No. You guys have gotten those out. Trust me, I know this because I track your glyphs. Like, you've gotten those out, but I would like Signal.
I think we've gotten those out, but some of them I actually would like to add back in. Like,
yes,
I think
please. Sorry, I get excited about glyphs, obviously. But yes, I would be very grateful.
Okay, I believe this will be wrapping up our interview. Please, Brian, don't leave. We would like to torture you a little bit more. And thank you, of course. Thank you so much for taking the time of your day to do this thing with us. On behalf of the entire community, at least the part we moderate in the chat. And well, I hope to everybody that listens that this will be really helpful. We look forward to what's coming in Ingress. We really look forward to that. Thank you. Thank you very much again.
Yeah, and again, just thank you so much for organizing this, but also thank you to all the players. Thank you for playing our game. I know, there's a lot of work that's ahead of us. Thank you for sticking with the team. Thank you for your patience. And yeah, we are working to make things better and bigger and better.